even Superman strong. Yes, we're made of steel. We talking sports right now. You better know that it's real. We on your airwaves all. We talking every level. Yeah, that's right. Put them on the chopping block. Rating them out from A to Z. See which one is hot or not. Wanna chime in? Hey, pick up your phone and call me. Hope, Buck, Clint, Go, Ella, Wawa, Auburn, Gas City, Westbrook, Cruiser, Christian, Southside, Rammer, Jammer, Yellowhammer, give them hell, Alabama. Friday night lights, it ain't nothing like Saturday hype. We love it right. You wanna hear the best sports to now? Kapow Sports Talk, the best all around. Kapow Sports Radio, I hope you ready. Kapow, yeah, it's about to go down. Kapow, K-A-P-O-W Sports Radio, and yeah, we all the way live. Kapow Sports Radio, I hope you ready. Kapow, yeah, it's about to go down. Kapow, K-A-P-O-W Sports Radio, and yeah, we all the way live.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Coach Steve Smith Show and the Westbrook Warrior Football Show. Jeff Underwood, this guy, Jerry White. What's up?
Round 2, Coach.
Congrats,
Round 2.
I'm glad to be here.
Something about playoff football is just different.
Yes, it is different.
Hey, let's just jump right into it. Both feet, Coach. Not feet, both feet.
Yeah.
Kind of break
He's
down.
from a town. Don't worry about it. It's okay.
Yeah, it's a town, Coach.
Yeah.
You understand.
Okay.
Yeah, from a big city.
Center.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Almost.
You guys are in the same boat, I think.
Piedmont.
Same area. Let's talk about the mindset your guys had going into the week 1 playoff game. And kind of just take us through the game, if you would.
Yeah, first of all, for all our guys, it was the first time for them to be participating in the playoffs, so that was a big deal. I think we had a little nervousness about us, just from the fact that we were playing in that atmosphere. The game was kind of an odd first half, to be honest. Vinemont, they run that ugly eagle offense, that pretty much is just 3-4 yards in a cloud of dust. They went for it on 4th down, I want to say 6 or 7 times throughout the game. And early in the game, they converted a couple of those, So the first drive, I think they made 2 first downs and got the ball out near midfield. And it was like 6.5 minutes to go in the first quarter. And they attempted like a pass, some type of RPO type deal, and we sacked the quarterback and got a strip sack, and Jackson Morantz picked it up and ran it in for a touchdown. So we go back on defense after the kick, and they make another first down, I think, I think it's another first down. I think our first offensive play was like 3.5 minutes to go in the first quarter.
Oh, gracious.
So we had 2 offensive possessions in the first half, I believe. I think we scored on one, and the other one we got stopped on downs. And then just before the half, or sometime in the second quarter, we blocked a punt and ran it back down to the 1-yard line and scored on a 1-yard touchdown run after that. So, we were up 21-0 at halftime, but I want to say that at half we had right at 6 minutes of time of possession, they had like 18, and I want to say we had ran 10 or 12 offensive snaps in the first half, something like that. And they'd ran like 31. So it was kind of an odd game, Coach. I go in there and I had to be mad, about something. We're not putting anything up on the offensive side. Of course, somebody reminds the coach we hadn't had the ball yet, but defensively, too many opportunities to get off the field early on, and we didn't get it done. But second half, I thought we were much better all the way around on all 3 phases. The game, kicking game was solid again the other night. In the second half, it went more like what we were hoping it would go like, as far as getting some stops. Defense again created another big play. We had a tip pass. Titus tipped the ball, and Easton picked it off and ran it back in for a touchdown. So we had 2 defensive touchdowns in the game, and the punt block that got it back down to the 1. So 21 points that were kind of generated, outside of the offense, and that took up some slack for a slower offensive night than what we're accustomed to. But again, 49-0, and overall, a great effort by our guys. Team win. You'd survive and advance to the second round of the playoffs, and hard to be upset about a 49-0 win.
Jeff Spiegel said, he's the sports guy in Birmingham. He made a statement about you. I don't know if you saw it or read it.
I have not seen it.
And here's what he said. He said that the key takeaway to this victory is not just that Westbrook is legitimate. It is that it's a statement to the rest of the bracket that Westbrook Christian is a serious contender for the state championship.
Well,
what do you think about that?
Well, that's pretty high praise, and I appreciate him saying that. we've got a long way to go to build up that tradition and that name that a lot of the people in that bracket have. I was looking yesterday. I was talking with somebody. The northern half of the bracket, all the ones and twos won. So this week you got all 4 ones hosting 4 twos. But in our bracket, in the northern half, you got the Piedmont Fife game that's going on down the road. You got Mars Hill versus Winfield, and you got Colbert County and Gordo. And I think I figured up, I may have added up wrong, but I want to say there's 23 blue maps between Fife, Piedmont, Mars Hill, Colbert County, and Gordo. I think those 5 schools have combined for like 23 state championships in the histories of their school. So you're in a part of the bracket that's just filled with tradition, rich and deep tradition teams. And then you got us and Geraldine and Glencoe that are all, or not Glencoe, I said Glencoe, I meant Winfield. Us 3 that are all in that same north bracket that are kind of chasing that first state championship, I believe, at our respective schools. I don't think any of the people that I just mentioned has ever won a 3A championship. I think Winfield played for it one year. Maybe was that who Aniana beat that year? I can't remember, but I won't say Winfield has played in a championship game. I don't know about Geraldine.
Or 2. I think they were
I'm not positive, but I don't think Winfield, Geraldine, or Westbrook Christian have a blue map in football. But the other 5 teams in this northern half of the bracket have combined for like 23 in the history of their school. And, of course, most recently, with the Piedmont, Fife, and Mars Hill success just in the last probably 15 years, Colbert County and Gordo had a lot of theirs back when we were kids and stuff. Those are some of the powerhouse programs in the state. But just to be advanced into the second round and to be in this part of the bracket with all these teams, with all the tradition, having our name mentioned with them is definitely a compliment. I appreciate Jeff for saying that, but we've got a long way to go to prove that we're in that same conversation. But I believe in our guys. I believe in, I told them, I said, you get down to this part of the season, everybody's got equal opportunity. Somebody's going to win 5 in a row.
Well, coming from Jeff, there are a lot of people in the media. Then there's true, what I consider journalists. He's been really good for a long time.
And Jeff's a friend of mine. I appreciate the fact that he said good things about us, but worked closely with him for the last 20 years or so out of the Birmingham market like that. So he does know a little bit more about high school sports than most people do. So to hear those words coming from him, that's a very big compliment.
Look at this. I think you guys are set up very well because there was a point where Piedmont wasn't what they are now, right? Mm-hmm. I think a lot of these teams, you had to do something to get to that level. Right. And I think the trajectory that Westbrook is right now, I think they're on a great path to, be talked about. A lot of years left, but they had to get there first.
Well, and everybody that has a tradition had to have a beginning, and that's what we always talk about. There has to be a start somewhere. I think Geraldine, if you go back to the, I want to say it was maybe 2000, 2001. I remember watching them in Pisgah in the semifinals to see who would go to the championship game to play. I think they played Clay County. I think Pisgah won that game maybe. But, since Coach Davis's arrival at Geraldine, they've kind of hit that ascension. This is a Geraldine team now that's used to being in the second, third round. They were in the semifinals just a few years back, and really was just one play away from beating Madison Academy and playing for the state championship. So the job that Coach Davis has done there, and I kind of view where we're at right now, kind of where they were at just 2 or 3 years ago, 4 years ago, as they were starting their place in 3A football as being one of those teams that's talked about year in and year out. And then when you look at what they've accomplished over the last 5 years, they beat 5 3 of the last 5 times they played them. I don't know many people that can claim 3 wins over 5 in 5 years. Then they beat Mars Hill 3 years ago, and then lost to them last year in a close ball game. Mars Hill kind of steamrolled everybody else on the way to the state championship. So this is a Geraldine team that's as capable of beating anybody in this bracket as anybody else is. And I kind of feel like our program is kind of where they were at just 2 or 3 years ago, trying to make a name for itself and trying to get in there with the big boys and throw some punches and see what happens.
So I'm trying to remember a team that's beat 5 3 years in a 20-year span.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah, so it's definitely somebody that has served notice to the rest of the state that hey, we're a legit contender, and it's going to be a huge challenge for us going to Geraldine tomorrow night I think it's going to be a great game between two really good teams. I love watching their team play on film, and I'm very pleased with how our team's been playing.
How do you manage that? Like as going on the road to a place like
Right.
Geraldine, that's a tough place to play.
Right.
Just like coming to Westbrook Stadium is a tough place
Yep.
to play. How do you guys travel well, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Geraldine it's just a crackerjack. It's very tight in there.
Right.
The stands are not going to hold all of your people on that side. You're going to pack it out. But how do you bring that type of environment with you to a place like Geraldine? And what do you preach? How do you preach composure to your guys?
Well, I mean, I learned this a long time ago. It's still 100 yards long, 53 yards wide. And regardless of all the stuff, they got a fence around it. So all the things that's going on outside can't affect the game. Mm-hmm. It's still going to be our 11, their 11 at a time on the field. And that's what you try to tell your kids, regardless of how loud it is, the music or the lighting or the conditions or the grade on the field, the slope, regardless of all those other things, it's still a football field. It's still 11 on 11. None of the stuff that's going on behind us or in front of us on the other side can really hurt us because they got a fence between us and people can't cross that fence and get involved. All those types of things, are factors, yes, but heck, anywhere at this time of the year, you're going to have a home field advantage, I mean, you want your home field to be a place that people don't want to come to play. You want it to be a tough place to play, and they do a great job of creating an environment there that's pro-Geraldine, and we just have to block that out and go out there and play on the field. Like I said, it's still a football field. It's still a football game like it always is, and all the other outside things that make up the novel part of it that makes it such a festive event really don't affect the play on the field if the kids stay focused on what the game's about.
So I was taking a look. I was looking at Coach Michael Davis, and I know that he was a fantastic player there.
Right.
And again, even you said he's one of the really bright young coaches in the area that does things the right way.
Right.
He's a Geraldine guy through
That's
and
right.
through.
Through and through.
Talk about what it means to see coaches like that you respect. You're a mentor to a lot of coaches, but to seeing a coach that does it the right way, that's got to make you happy.
Well, in a day and time where there's everybody wanting to create the new way to do stuff, Michael's kind of a throwback guy. He still preaches hard-nosed, tough, disciplined football. He's got those guys, I say they play like their hair's on fire. He's got them playing hard for them. Their defense is getting 11 people to the ball all the time. Offensively, they don't do a ton of different things, but the things they do, everybody's operating very efficiently. It's like a well-oiled machine, and you can tell that the kids love playing for him. His youth and his energy is contagious right there with the team. And I watch his assistant coaches. I watch how they interact with the players and how they're fired up during the game. I mean, it's a great situation that he's created there at Geraldine, and being from there and being one of their own. Obviously, I'm sure it's extra special to him. I'll say this, and of course, this is me saying it. It's not Michael Davis saying it, but I'll say it for him. There's a lot of job openings around right now at places that pay probably a lot more money, and places that there's a lot of job openings around right now, and I would expect Michael Davis to be a candidate for a lot of those, even if he's not interested in them. I think any of these folks that have potential openings or have openings, and they want to do their due diligence, I mean, he's a definite person to keep your eye on or whatever, because I think Michael Davis could win at 7A. I think he can win at any level in this state, and I really believe in him that much as a good young coach. That, again, that's not coming from him. He may be a 40-year veteran at Geraldine the whole time, and if he is, hey, hats off to that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. There's something to be said about being just happy and content where you're at, but anybody that has a job opening that didn't check in on his interest would be kind of foolish to not do so. He's that good.
Well, he is, and Jeff and I got to spend some time with him. We broadcast his game 2 years ago. Man, he is a humble, respectful, true dude of integrity. Like, you can tell the guy, you can just tell somebody is honest when they're talking with you. High praise for this guy. He's a class guy.
He's a young mid-30s that acts mid-50.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I hope we beat the crap out of him. God bless him. But I still like him.
Well, you got a lot of respect for him. He does a great job, and like I said, I think their team is going to be one of the best teams that we've seen all year long, and I definitely think there's somebody that's in contention for this 3A North.
you're going into a different type of offense as far as they put some points up, right?
Yeah, they do.
They know how to do it. So containment is going to be a big thing for you
Right.
guys, breaking down, containing the edges, using that sideline as your 12th man to tackle.
Right.
How do you preach that coming off of a victory kind of like you came off of?
Yeah, it is contrast in that they still got some old school philosophy to them. They're really running the wing T stuff out of the shotgun. But instead of having a fullback and a quarterback under center, they just got the quarterback one back. They got the tight end wing one way, and they got the twins the other, which poses a little bit of a matchup situation difficulty for you because you got to respect the pass. Twin receivers, and they do a good job throwing with their tight end and wing into the short side stuff. They use all those guys. Their quarterback's definitely the guy that makes them go. I think last week he had like 285 yards and 5 touchdowns on like 10 or 11 carries. Big play threat for him, and he's obviously the leader. He's just a 10th grader, but I know he's been starting for him since 8th grade. He had picked 3 interceptions against us as an 8th grader here at Westbrook my first year. Ran one of them back 100 yards, for a touchdown.
Let's not talk about that.
But he's their leader on offense, and they've got capable guys all around him in the backfield and at receiver, tight end, wing. They do a lot of great things on the offensive side to keep you off balance. They got a big offensive line. They do a lot of misdirection, a lot of motions, a lot of things with getting him out on the corner and making you make a play on him. So we got to do a great job of keeping the contain, and we got to do a great job of getting him on the ground, as well as the other guys. Whenever they spread the ball around, they got other guys. 13, their running back. I watched him break some long runs. So
it's almost 1,000 yards.
Yeah. So we got to be able to get them on the ground. They are hard running, and like I said, they throw the ball a lot better than you think that they would from a run first offense. One game I think we charted he was 6 out of 9 for like 120 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he throws a good ball, and he's got guys that can go get it defensively. They get after it. They got a good kicker. I hadn't seen the kicker miss a kick all year long on the extra points. Special teams are solid. They get after the punter. They just do a lot of things well.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give Elijah the credit for he's that close to 1,000 yards. He's a 1,000 yards guy. And John Beckway, the sophomore you're talking about, he doesn't throw the ball much. But he completes it when he throws it.
Oh, yeah.
Only 6 touchdown passes on the season, 3 in one game.
Yep.
That kid has a nose for the football.
No doubt.
And he's just, it's special. But you like a challenge. Your defense, 3 shutouts this year. I'm not saying you guys are going and shutouts always the goal, right? That's what you want to do. But I believe this is going to be a battle of 2 high-level tacticians. Your defensive coordinator, their offensive coordinator, Michael Davis is running that. That from a fan standpoint, Coach,
right.
No skin in the game. This may be one of the top 2 games in the state of Alabama.
Well, I'd like to think so. Yeah. And then again, I think that's a compliment to our program and their program that people think of this game as being something like that on a statewide level. But it's kind of like I told someone else yesterday. They were asking me. I said, the great part about football is Coach Davis and myself, we won't play a play. And I told him, I said, if I got the coaches out there playing, it's going to be Advantage Geraldine. But
he's young.
He's faster than I am. I can't tackle him. I can't catch him. Probably couldn't block him. But at the end of the day, we're not going to play a play. And it's going to be about not necessarily what the coaching staffs know. It's what we can get our players to do and play fast and with confidence and things. And I know that they'll have their guys ready. We feel like we got our guys ready, so it should just be a lot of fun to go out there for Friday night from 7 to 9:30 and just see what happens.
There's a couple things Jerry preaches. He was talking about it Friday night. You were talking about gap control. Talk about that and how important that is playing a team like this.
No doubt. If you get somebody out of their gap, if you get somebody that goes inside, he's supposed to go outside. If you get somebody on a stunt and he runs up the back of another guy, doesn't do what he's supposed to, then that's what they're looking for. They're looking to create running lanes. With the wing too, you got the guards pulling, you're looking for a kick out and a turn up. They do a lot of the same stuff that you see from some other offensive names. The key is getting as many people turning up in the hole, lead blocking, and the guy behind them as possible. And like Bindmont, they did it a different way last week, but there were times, where you think, well, there's no way that's going to work, and the quarterback pops out and he's got 7-8 yards because he's got 3 guys pulling and he's behind them. You can't see him. You can't find the guy to tag. Everybody in the bleachers on and tackle the guy with the ball. Well, you got to find the guy with the ball. He's behind 3 linemen that are turned up in the hole, and a lot of times if that's happening, that's because somebody didn't hit their gap to be able to condense that hole down. But gap control is extremely important against a team like Geraldine that's looking for the first place to turn it up and get behind a couple of those big guys pulling. So that's going to be a huge challenge as well.
My favorite line is from the stands: block somebody.
Yeah, blocks.
Yeah.
We'll try.
Yeah.
We not try to block somebody.
Right.
How important is it to get your quarterback off to a good start in this game?
Well, I think it's just important to get off to a good start in general. Brody's a guy. He's our leader, just like Wade's their leader. You're not going to rattle Brody Blevins. He's gonna keep a pretty level head, even keel, up times, down times, whatever. He's going to be a competitor. So I think more so for us, it's just getting in the flow of the game, offensively, defensively, special teams. Kicking it in the end zone when we kick it off, getting the defense out there, hopefully getting a 3 and out, getting a short field on the punt, and getting some type of rhythm on the offensive side to where, if you don't score every possession, as long as you're not turning it over and you're able to punt the ball and get them backed up deep and keep them pinned, but just like anybody else, our Achilles has been this year the big play on the defensive side. We've been really good on defense, and I went back and looked. I think 80% of the touchdowns that we've given up this year on the defensive side of the ball have come on plays 50 yards or more.
Wow.
So you're talking about a substantial amount of the points. We've had a really, really good defense. Mm-hmm. So I think it's pretty evident on our end, make the other team keep snapping the ball, make them keep snapping it, and, something good will happen. But when you give up those explosive plays that are 50, 60 yards at a pop, that's hard to overcome sometimes. So, we got to guard against that. And I'm sure Coach Davis would tell you the same thing from his perspective. Just you want to make the other team keep snapping the ball. You don't want them to be able to strike with an 80-yard touchdown or something. So, those are the things that we got to have a heightened awareness of. Don't look at the passing stats. Realize what these guys can do. Our corners and safeties can't go to sleep thinking it's just run, because that's when they slide somebody behind you, and he's more than capable of getting the ball to his guys, and they're more than capable of doing something with it when they get it.
Going back to Brody Blevins, how important is it to have a quarterback out there, or refreshing, to have a quarterback out there that can recognize a mismatch, and exploit that? How important is that?
Oh, it's critical, and that's what I talk to quarterbacks about all the time. Everybody wants to see how far you can throw it. Everybody wants to see how fast you can run on the stopwatch. Everybody wants to see all these measurable things, but the intangible part of playing that position comes into play when you, number one, the formations forwards and backwards, because we're not very complicated, but we do a lot of things through formations that can kind of get us to an advantageous spot. Knowing where everybody's going to be, knowing what everybody's supposed to be doing, and not just sitting back there. It's not PE football. You can't sit back there and just wait on somebody to come open and throw it to them. You got all these guys barreling down on you. Life's a whole lot different when you got 5 guys blocking for you and 5 rushing at you, and you're trying to find people and anticipate where they're going to be. I think that's one of the things that he's developed in the best is having a great awareness of where everybody's supposed to be, having a great awareness of what everybody's supposed to be doing. And then there's been a couple times here in the last couple of games where he's actually come over to me and saw some things that I didn't see or that we didn't plan for. And he's like, "Hey, Coach, what do you think about this?" And that really makes me proud, because that lets me know that he's paying attention to what's going on, and we're kind of on the same wavelength about what we're trying to do. Yeah. Last year he rushed for 1,400, 1,500 yards, carried the ball about 250 times. Realizing that probably wasn't the best thing in the world to get him hit that many times. This year I think he's only rushed the ball maybe 70, 75 times.
A whole lot of yardage though.
He's got good yardage when he's ran it, but he's really worked his tail off to make himself a better overall quarterback, and I think it's been evident with the production he's put on the field.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Interesting side note from Coach Teddy Whitmire. He said that John Beck Wade's dad played there on that 2000 team. He's a legacy guy.
Was a great player. So he was he was one of their leaders on that team, and you can see that the apple didn't fall far from the tree when it comes to being a great football player.
Brian Stanfield, he gave me a space right over. It's right over Coach's head. We have an Alabama jersey over here, so roll tide to you, buddy.
He's a big man.
It's hilarious, man.
Yeah, let's talk about how important is it not necessarily with this game, Coach. I'm talking just coach and speak here about the communication to your quarterback from the sideline. Check with me plays or change in plays, those kind of things.
Well, y'all watched us play before. I mean, we don't do a whole lot of check with me's at the line of scrimmage. It's checking with me is me making him run 45, 50 yards every time to come over there to the sideline.
How drives you crazy?
I said we were the originators of check with me. They check with me every time I come to the sideline, so. But, it drives people. It makes people in the stands a lot more upset than it does me. Smith runs his quarterback 6.2 miles a game. They figured it up 50 times every how many plays and then 50 back. But the best part about that relational type thing between me and him is those moments that we can talk. It's almost like little extra timeouts. We don't have the headset communication in high school. So that's when he can communicate to me some things that he might be seeing, and I know everybody thinks, well, you got coaches in the box, you got people. We don't have the people holding the iPads and watching TV. We're not going to watch TV during a football game. That's just not the way I do it. But having him be able to come over and tell me what he's actually seeing, and he's seeing it from an end zone view because he's behind the center, and he can see the techniques. He can see the things that are open. He can see the tendencies of where the safety might be shaded this way or that way. We've been doing check with me for 33 years on the teams I've coached. It's just checking with me by coming to the sideline. And that part of it, I tell people it's like having a little mini timeout between every play. And I told this story, and this is kind of off base a little bit, but back in the day, before they had the 40-second clock and everything was 25-second clock, they would never start it until they had the ball spotted and ready for play. We had a system in place. I'd train my managers, and all my managers would be real deliberate about running the ball in between every play. That I always pass it to the guy that was farthest from the actual spot. A lot of the referees back then were a little overweight, a little heavy, and they would take it and they'd sling it under. They'd rear back and sling it under and hand it to the guy in the middle, and he'd drop it, and then they'd walk and pick it up and take a while to bend. Then they'd get it spotted. Well, the whole time they was doing that, the white hat's waiting on them to put it in play and start the play clock at 25.
That's brilliant.
We'd get 20, 25 seconds of a timeout between me and the quarterback every play. And everybody laughs at that, but it really was strategic on how we did it. I didn't tell the managers that they were doing it on purpose like that. I just said, just find the guy that's farthest away from the middle and give him the ball. And they were too lazy a lot of times to run it in there, so they would sling it underhanded, and they'd throw it over the guy's head, and somebody else had to go get it. And I'd tell my players, don't help them, pick it up. Make them get it, and then they get it spotted. Well, the whole time, me and the quarterback was over there having a timeout, and we get the next play call. Well, the advent of the 40-second clock has kind of hurt that a little bit, because now then, regardless of how deliberate and slow the officials are getting it spotted, as soon as the play ends, it's 40 for the next one. And so that kind of lost that advantage.
A couple of questions I'll let Jeff ask and say, but one on our YouTube question. Coach, if the rules changed and you had to run to the quarterback between plays, would you start signaling that way?
We'd definitely start signaling them. I would be
poster board.
We would have as much a chance of that happening as it would be with me playing against Coach Davis. I mean, it's advantage of the team.
So funny. That's an anonymous question, but that's got Brant written all over.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's Brant Jones.
All right, I'm gonna start with the latest question, and I'll move back.
Okay.
With some of those. How much time do you spend on, in a week, game plan in a week? How do you balance all that you have to get done, but not forget there's 3 phases, not 2?
Yeah, we got special teams worked into every one of our practice plans. We start off with special teams. It's actually, we kind of do our special teams at the beginning, and it's part of our individual period. We do individual with everybody that's not involved in the special team. And so it can be a little bit testy for the coaches sometimes that they might lose somebody for 5 minutes during individual because they're on the punt team or something. But I'm a big believer in working smart and being efficient with your time. Our practices typically never go beyond 2 hours, but we've got people doing something all the time. We don't have people. I can remember back when I was a kid playing, if you wasn't a starter or if you wasn't a scout team guy working with the starter, everybody's over on the knee on the helmet for an hour at practice. And we don't do that. We don't have anybody sitting around. Everybody's got a job to do at all times. I mean, there are even times when our backup punter is over catching balls off the ball machine, working on catching snaps, because one day He may have to punt one day, and he needs to work on catching the snap. So I got a coach over there, football ops guy, that's shooting balls to him. When we're doing punt return, I got a second punter off the side, punting down the sideline to another return. Nothing that we're overly smart about, but as far as being able to balance, we try to play kids on one side of the ball, and so when we're doing offense, a lot of times the defense is doing walkthrough with the scout team offense, and vice versa. If we're working on defense, we got the offense doing walkthrough with scout team defense. So we try to have everybody something to do at all times, and so planning the practices out to being efficient. They're not, like I said, they're not long. We're not going to be out there more than 2 hours, but we try to be real efficient with the time that we do have.
Talk about that real quick. I mean, you brought it up. Let's just park there for a minute.
Yeah.
Practice is no more than 2 hours.
Right.
That's on the field practice, is what you're saying.
But everything's planned out. It's not just
workouts and those.
Not counting the workouts. And workouts and film. A typical Tuesday's our longest day. To give you an idea what we do on Tuesday, we get the kids at 2:15. We work out from 2:15 to 3. Mm-hmm. We're going to do some type of activity in the weight room every day. Even on Friday's game day, we're doing something. Mm-hmm. All right, but 2:15 to 3, we're getting our workout in. That workout usually involves some period of speed training, some period of stretching, some period of core lifting. Okay, mm-hmm. Then at 3 o'clock, our offensive guys and our defensive scout team, we're watching film of the opponent. So Tuesday this week, our offense and our scout team defense, it was going to be simulating Geraldine's defense. We watched Geraldine's defense. We practice from about 3:30 to 5:15, 5:20, somewhere in that range, with a practice schedule with everything planned out. We come in after practice, and our defensive at the end of that practice on Tuesday, which is considered an offensive day. Now, during all that offensive stuff, our defense is working against an offensive scout team on prepping for Geraldine. At the end of the practice, our coach will break down Geraldine's offense to our guys and just verbalize that to them. Coach Lowe runs that part with the defense. After practice on Tuesday, they will immediately go in and see what he had just talked to them about on the field. They'll watch it on film, so they'll watch Geraldine's offense and get an idea of seeing what he just told them. And then Wednesday when we go out, we have a practice plan for what? Our philosophy is tell them, show them, and then practice. So we kind of go through that. So Tuesday's our longest day. Our kids get to the field house for workouts at 2:15, and we're usually there at about 6:15 on Tuesday. The practice itself is about 2 hours, but weight workouts and the film and I don't bring a lot of people in to watch film that unnecessarily don't need to watch that film. So our offensive guys, there's no really reason for them to watch Geraldine's offense. So we try to make the film sessions with the team more personal to the ones it applies to, because I feel like you got better focus and attention than if you got a bunch of guys in there that it don't pertain to, and then they're just kind of cutting up and kind of in the way. So we try to make every minute. I value our coaches' time. I value our players' time. I still want these people to have a life outside of football. So I work hard on trying to make sure that we're organized to the minute on what we're going to do and not waste anybody's time. I like spending time with my family, and I want our coaches to spend time with their family. I want our kids to be able to go home to their families at a decent time, go to church on Wednesday nights, all the things that's still part of being a kid. I want them to be able to do that, and I feel like a lot of times you waste a lot of time by just holding them there and feeling like working longer is working better, and I'm not a big fan of that.
Love that. I never understand why you got to work till midnight. 11 o'clock. I mean, this is Jerry White's opinion here. This had nothing to do with Coach Smith.
Well, if I worked to I can tell you this: if I worked to midnight, I just had to spend the night at Westbrook because I wouldn't ever make it home.
So this is a question from a lady named Rachel. Hey, could you start working longer?
He just said she'd hit him with a fastball and that softball right before him.
You got to get home.
That's
so funny. Hey, Coach Teddy Whitmire asked the question. Hey, do you think this is a game where special teams will be magnified?
Big time. Yeah. Big time. Everybody gets tired of hearing coach talk. So if everybody says, what's the keys to Geraldine game, right? And here they go. And you just say, roll your eyes. Here we go. Turnovers, penalties, special teams, field position, handling the outside noise.
Blake Matthews.
Control the line of scrimmage.
And line of scrimmage. But those are things that everybody's like, yeah, boy, he really gave us some good nuggets right there. But in a game like this, the special teams are a big part, and we feel like that for the most part this year, we've kind of had an advantage in most games with special teams. Geraldine is someone that, as we put the film on, they work on special teams as much as anybody we played all year long. Like I said, I've not seen their kicker miss a PAT. They get after the punter. They got a great return game. I mean, they do all the things the way when you turn the film on and you watch special teams. A lot of times, I'll say this: you can turn the film on and you can watch their special teams, and you can see how much people emphasize it. Sometimes it's not very much. Sometimes it's a lot. Sometimes it's somewhere in the middle. When I watch Geraldine's special teams, they work on it, and they're good at what they do, and so this is one of those games to where they're going to be able to match as far as the importance that they place on them. You can tell that this team puts a lot of emphasis on special teams by how efficient they are.
How important is this game for people like Skaggs and Titus Jones? What kind of role are they going to play, and how important is they play big?
Well, I think when we looked at them, you look at the Watson kid they've got as defensive end. You game plan, because he's a difference maker. I think when people turn the film on and watch our defense, I think Easton is a difference maker. I think Titus is a difference maker. I think that they look at things and try to figure out how we're going to block 44, how we're going to block 24. And I think we got some other really good players, and by all means, they've got some other really good players. I mean, but when you start looking at the guys that stand out as the leaders, I think it definitely has an impact on how coach. I can't be so stubborn to think that we're going to just manhandle number 78. I mean, he is a really good player. We got to figure out some ways to trick him. We got to figure out some ways to false key him. We got to figure out some ways to get him out of position, because he's a really, really good player. Like I said, they got plenty of other really good players too, but I think it'd be a fair statement if you ask Michael Davis who's his leader on defense, I think he'd mention number 78. And and the same with us. When you look at the stat sheet on our guys, we've got a lot of guys that have done a lot of really good things for us, and there's always going to be a guy or two that's going to jump out on the stat sheet just because of the stats. Sure. I mean, so I think game planning around those players that are what you would consider the impact players, it's always a big part of the game.
Yeah. How important in this particular game, because they don't pass very often, but they will. How important is the downhill tackling from your secondary?
It's important, but I think it's always safe to say they pass when they have to pass. They don't pass for the fun of it. They pass when they have to pass. And if it's a game that they have to throw the football to win, I can promise you they've got 100% confidence that they can do it that way too.
So game script obviously matters.
Game script matters, and those back end guys. I want to shout out to Luke Thompson and Maddox Mooney and Carter Cawthorn and Gavin Michael. Those guys are our starters in our secondary. They've been a much maligned group really since the time I've been at Westbrook. There's the secondary, not necessarily those players, but what a lot of fans don't understand is you can mess up on the D-line and take the wrong gap, and you got linebackers, and then you got secondary people that can cover it up for you. They can keep it from going. The secondary guys, if a safety bites up on play action, a receiver slides behind him, or if a corner bites on a double move or something, when they throw it over the top of those guys, it's usually a touchdown. And so their mistakes are a lot of times more amplified because there is no other line of defense behind them. But I've been really proud of our secondary, how they've played this year, how those guys have done a really, really good job. We haven't been exempt from giving up a big play, but we've done a great job of minimizing those to this point. From year to year, it's been a huge difference. Yeah. And again, I want our defensive line to make every play in the backfield. Don't happen that way. If they don't, I want the linebackers to hit them at the line of scrimmage. Yeah. It don't always happen that way. If they do get past those two lines of defense, I want our secondary people to get them on the ground. And that don't always happen either. And if you don't get them on the ground, use the sidelines. Somehow or another, keep on making them have to snap the ball again. But when you play that defensive back position, especially if you're that corner and you're out there one-on-one on an island with a really good receiver, and the ball's in the air, it's like we talked about before, the rules are favoring to the offense. You touch them, it's a flag, all those types of things. It's a tough job to play secondary in high school football. Sure. and any level, but it's really, really amplified, I think, in high school because, you don't never know from one game to the next what the officials are going to let them away with as far as jockeying with your hands. If you touch them at all as a flag, if you can ride them, can you lean on them? That comes with playing the game and getting the feel for the game to see how they're calling it. And offensively, a lot of times those offensive guys are really coached up well on how to lean on the defensive guy and kind of push off without pushing off, and the back shoulder and all that type of stuff, that you see on these throws now. I mean, it's a difficult position to play.
The coaches we've talked to this year, this has been an issue more so this year.
I think so
than
too.
Any other years? Would you say you do?
Yeah, I really believe that, and because it's, a lot of people go 5-man crews. When you go 5-man crew, you got the white hat behind the quarterback, you got the umpire right behind the middle linebacker, then you got one back judge and two guys on the side. Well, it's a lot different for those two guys on the side to be able to look down the line of scrimmage for encroachment or any holding or things like that they have to look for first, and to be able to see what's going on between the receivers and the DBs and have the peripheral to see all that at one time. Whereas you get a 7-man crew, you got those two guys on the side at the line of scrimmage, but then you got the other two guys that are 15 yards down the field that their primary is watching the quarterback, the receiver, DB jockeying out there. It's a big difference with a 5-man crew and a 7-man crew. If you're a passing offense like we might be considered to be, you want a 7-man crew.
Yeah.
Because you want to have that extra set of eyes back there that their job is watching the DBs and the receivers off the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. If you're a primary run team, you'd rather have a 5-man crew because ain't no need to have that going on back there, Yeah. So a lot of times during the regular season, that's at the discretion of the home team. The home team determines whether they want to play 5 or 7 officials. Get to the playoffs, if both teams don't agree on 5, it has to be 7. So, I do think that helps a little bit with the officiating roles, but it's awful hard to ask a guy at the line of scrimmage that's a lot of times 55 years old like I am to watch down the line for encroachment, illegal formation, holding on the edges, and to see what's going on as the receiver's trying to get off the ball and the DB's holding him or whatever. Yeah. It's hard to see all that stuff at one time, Well,
it's hard to be an official.
And listen, I ride them all the time. Most of the time it's in good-natured fun. I'm riding them, but I've told them before. They couldn't pay me 3 times what they pay the officials to come out there and do it. I mean, I wouldn't do it. It's because it's a thankless job. Yeah. I'm appreciative of the people that have dedicated their time to doing it. Right. Like I said, during the game, I'm complaining about every call that goes against me and patting them on the back for every one that goes my way, just like any other coach.
So this year in particular, we've seen some DBs ride receivers like Seabiscuit not get called.
Right.
Then we see some, you just look at the receiver bat and get called. It's so inconsistent.
Yeah.
And I think from a coach's standpoint, regardless of how they call it, it is about consistency because how it will be.
That's what you want. I mean, it's just like umpiring baseball. The strike zone, if it's 6 inches off the plate, it's okay. We have to adjust to that as long as it's 6 inches off the plate all night long. It can't be that way in the 7th inning. Right. Basketball, if it's over the back, it's over the back all night long. Right. If it's a hand check, it's a hand check all night long. And I think really what coaches really want to see, and then we can adjust and coach our players up, is that consistency. And most of the time, I will say this. Officials are pretty consistent within the game. What you're talking about is maybe some inconsistencies from one week to the next, depending on the crew. And I have found that there are some associations that hammer their officials when they have their weekly meetings about sideline management. There's some associations that hammer their officials maybe weekly about pass interference or whatever it might be. The funny part, not the funny part, but the most difficult part, I should say, is when you go from association to association, what is the emphasis? And some places you go, pass interference is not going to be called. Nobody in that region throws the ball that much. Some places you go, pass interference, as you said, you touch them, it's a flag because there's a lot of folks there that play wide open, up-tempo type offenses. So some places you go, I've yet to figure this one out. They say in high school football the clock stops on the first down to get the chain set. Well, a lot of places will snap the next ball and the chains hadn't been set yet, but the officials will tell you The chains don't have to be set as long as the box is set, because that's the start of for the first down's at. So you can't look anymore and see where the chain crew's 30 yards behind. You got time, because if the guy that's carrying the box is set, officials don't care if the chain crew's set or not. They go ahead and wind it, So just little things like that it's place to place, it's game to game, and it's not really anything to complain about as much as just getting there and figuring out how is that particular game going to be called, and then just expecting it to be that way.
How important are the meetings that you have with the officials before the game, the talks? I mean, it's pretty important, right?
Most of the time it's just a formality. They're just doing their checklist of things that they're supposed to do. Every now and then you'll have an official that says, Coach, state's made us aware of some things going on. This is some things that's really going to be a point of emphasis now. And you appreciate that stuff because communication is the key on that, But again, you really have to get into the game to kind of get the flow of it, to see how it's going to go. And 99% of those guys are there to do a service. They're there to just keep the flow of the game going. It's not about them. It's about the kids that are playing it. And I have deep appreciation for that. Every now and then you will get somebody that needs to be seen. And typically it will manifest itself throughout the night, who that person is. But for the most part, those guys do a great job, and again, you couldn't pay me enough to be an official, for sure.
You've been kind to him.
Steve Smith loves officials.
He does love officials. Just keep that in mind.
That. I won't tell you the coach, but someone
he knows everybody.
Well, that's fair. That's a stupid way to put it, but there's certain officials that this particular well-known high school football coach said that he intentionally ran plays based on if this official was in that position, he would run away from the guy.
Yeah.
And I won't say it. You ever had anything like that happen?
Anybody breaks us down and tell you I'm real sideline oriented. I run to our sideline a lot more than I run to the other one. And everybody says, well, Coach, that's good. You know what I always says? Every time you run to their sideline, you know what their coaching staff is screaming. What are they screaming?
That's right.
What's that? If I'm running sweep to their sideline, why are they hollering to those officials? He's holding. You know what I think happens? I think sometimes eventually that official gets so tired of hearing it, they'll throw one just to coach, shut up. There it is. There's your hold.
Always working. Yeah.
Well, I can promise you, when we're running to our sideline, we ain't hollering. We're holding. We're not telling on ourselves. Yeah. And so, and short quarterback has to run a shorter distance if he's coming back to our sideline. Right? He don't have to run as far.
We have seen those games where they're running away from officials, whether it's Etowah or wherever we're at, and calling these games, and it happened a lot there, especially with Nana and Trent, because they be running. But we would see that official they're trying to run away from on the far side of the field insert themselves in the game and throw that yellow handkerchief. And one of the guys on here comment, it's Kerry, said, tell you not to pick up flags anymore.
I was just handing it back to him. That's what I did. I handed him back to. I was really cool with that. That really, the guy was right. We scored a touchdown with our JV guys there toward the end, and I was about 20 yards behind the play, and I was about 3 steps out on the field, which is illegal. That's a flag. I was on the field when the ball was snapped. And I was on the field because I like to get behind it to see if we block it right. But sometimes that works okay in JV games on Monday nights, but that's not really that cool to do that in a varsity game on Friday. Well, it was in the fourth quarter, 5 or 6 minutes to go in the game. Well, he dropped the flag. Again, on the film. I'm on the field, 3 good steps. Deserved the flag, no problem. It's a 5-yard penalty. I'm not interfering with the play. I'm just on the field. I hadn't even had a sideline warning like that last Friday night, right? So the touchdown counts. It's going to be 5 yards on the kickoff. Hey, sorry, man. You're right. I was on the field. We get ready to kick it off. They backed us up 15 yards and give me an unsportsmanlike penalty. And I'm like, no, I hate to call a timeout and argue when it's 49-0, but I didn't do nothing for an unsportsmanlike penalty. That's what we're doing here. And the white hat tells me, he said it was contact. And I said, well, I can tell you for both. And when he said contact, I kind of hit another gear walking that way toward that official. So time out here, man. Contact. And, of course, he's like, no, I didn't say nothing about contact. So they got it right. And they moved it back to the 35 and we got the 5-yard penalty for me being on the field. But in the process, I did pick his flag up and carry it to him and hand it to him. I'm like, what are you doing? contact. And he's like, no, I didn't say nothing about contact. And I said, well, that's what he's calling. That's what he's enforcing. So I definitely wanted to get. I've earned plenty of unsportsmanlike conduct penalties over the years, but that was not enough to earn one. I wanted to make sure if it was going to stand, I wanted to get my money's
You're
worth.
going to do it for
Yeah.
Somebody said, it's going to be a bad night when you see the officials warming up the shoulder of the sideline before the game.
They're throwing practice on the sideline with each other.
Make sure it's good.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
There's so many comments. Let me read a
Give me
couple.
some comments.
There was one by, not Brett, skip over Brett.
Yeah, Brant.
Let's give it Brett.
That Brett Tyler Smith.
I like. That's what I was going to get to.
Yeah.
He says, "Kudos to you, Coach Smith, for being able to keep a balance with all aspects of your life. I have a business, a wife, and only 3 kids, and I already have to ask God for a lot of personal grace to them."
Right. Well, I'll say this. I'm very thankful for Rachel and Sean, Sloan, Savannah. I've got a great family. They do make a lot of sacrifices. There's a lot of times over the last 33 years that Rachel's ate supper by herself, or the kids they vape by themselves because I was taking somebody home, or because something, an obligation, covering a basketball game or whatever my duties with AD role. A lot of times people don't understand the sacrifices that coaches' families make to be able to share their husband, or in my case, I share my wife during softball season, because of their commitment to their job, but we are people that's just like family people, like anybody else. I've been very fortunate to have my family side by side there with me for the entire 33 years that I've been coaching. 31 of them, I guess, now as a head coach, or 30 as a head coach, whatever it is. I've had tremendous support from my family, even extended my mom and dad, my sister and brother-in-law, my nieces. I mean, just in-laws. It takes a group to allow somebody to be a coach. And, I'm very thankful that I've had that kind of support from them, because they've sacrificed a whole lot for me to have to be where I need to be. And sometimes I think when people are not necessarily pleased with how the coach is doing, or pleased how the game's going, or pleased how the season's going, or whatever. And, I'm in a profession that that we're taught from the beginning, you block out the outside noise, you block out the stuff coming from over the fence, you block all those things out. And heaven forbid if I ever was to turn around and say something to somebody on the other side of the fence, then I'd be the bad guy, for acknowledging it. But there have been a couple times early in my career at Cedar Bluff that I did acknowledge a couple of those people, and probably wasn't being as Christ-like as I should be. And I think for the most part, though, I think Rachel has bit her tongue for the majority of the career. I think she might have had a couple of times that she kind of heard all she was going to hear, but I don't worry about her. I know she can take care of herself. I'd put her up against anybody in the bleachers that wants to get after me. I did tell one lady one time, I had a lady that from an opposing team that we had a little minor fracas up near our bus after the game, and she was really giving me the business. I mean, she was saying some words that I didn't know women knew how to say, or at least use them in that kind of sentence. But I finally listened to her about all that. I said, listen, lady, I said, I brought up better than slap your jaws. I said, I'm not going to do it. I said, but if you'll stay right here, let me walk the parking lot. I'll go get somebody that will.
Yes.
And
I have a feeling she didn't stay.
Now, when I got back, I had cooler heads prevailing, but Rachel was actually mad that I didn't come get her. So, but again, that's all part of it, You got a lot of times swallow your pride and bite your tongue and not say what you want to say. I said it's one of the few professions I know that comes with the territory that you're supposed to just sit there and get harassed and not say anything about it. I said I would imagine back in the day when Goodyear was fully operational, if I walked in and gave them $5 or $10 or whatever at the door and stood behind some of those production workers and told them how bad they was and how stupid they was and how dumb it was that they did it that way, I probably wouldn't have been more than about 5 minutes into it before one of them come around and hit me in the mouth.
You had you on the table.
And so nobody would expect the workers at Goodyear or steel plant or something like that to take harassment from people coming in and tell them how stupid they were and how bad they was doing at their job. But, a high school football coach, you're supposed to sit there and just let people call you stupid and everything else. And trust me, there have been times that you've wanted to snap back, but I've almost got to the point where I really don't hear a lot of that stuff that's going on. So most of the time it has to be somebody telling me what somebody said ugly.
Awesome, that's good.
But yeah.
We're going to ask you about some games this week.
Yeah.
First, a great question right here, Coach. Who's the more intense coach, you or Rachel?
Rachel. It had to be Rachel.
Stutter.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
it was her.
I view myself as overly intense, and she's more. So now I will say this: intense about what she's doing. But the one thing I always wish that I could emulate better with her, that I watched from her, was she always kept her composure with her kids. She never. I'm not saying she never yelled at them. I've seen her snap on a couple of them too, but she kept her composure during the game. Bad calls didn't get her bent out of shape near the way that they do me. She did a lot better job of keeping a cool head through those types of things. But as far as intense, I think if you ask the girls that played for her, the girls that played for her are a lot better people because of playing for her. She was tough on them. She cut them no slack, and I feel like I'm pretty intense. Most of the kids would probably tell you that, but I've slacked off a lot recent years.
This statement's really good. So I can picture her now snapping on you for your laundry missing the hamper.
Actually, that don't bother her, believe it or not. Wow. She calls me Danny Tanner about having to have everything in line, everything in. I'm the guy to be organized. Why is it not in the drawer? Why is it out of its position? I'm that guy that makes everybody else just sick about having to have everything in its place. We
knew the reference. We knew who Danny Tanner was.
Yeah, y'all know it. But that's more me. But no, typical Rachel stuff is when I get in after a ball game. I look at my phone. And somewhere in the middle of the second quarter, she's texted, "Why ain't we running the ball?" I mean, and I'm like I'm supposed to look at that during the game, I mean, so I got a tough audience at the house. I promise you, there's nothing that anybody can say to me that hadn't been said to me at home by her or my play calling sons. Or
hey, yeah, they know it.
Savannah stays out of the football coaching, but Savannah will ask me sometimes, why I let boys wear different colored gloves or something, So she knows what my roles are.
Let's stay on that subject real quick.
Yeah.
I know we want to get to he's got 4 or 5 games he wants to throw at you, but you're talking about being intense.
Mm-hmm.
I like my kids being coached tough.
Right.
I do. I grew up on that. I was coached tough. You guys know who we all probably had the same coaches at different times.
Yeah.
I like being coached tough. I like sometimes when you make a stupid mistake, for the coach to get in your ear hole and just, but isn't there a difference? You're a man of faith, but I don't know. You can't take faith out of anything when you're a believer, but it's still something about berating a kid and humiliating a kid. Talk about the difference. Because I think a lot of people don't realize there is a difference.
Huge difference. This is going to sound crazy. There's things that are mistakes, that are effort mistakes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's hard to be mad about that. Missing a block, it's hard to be mad about that when that kid's doing the best that he can. I try to be pretty corrective in an encouraging manner on stuff. The things that drive me crazy, the things that I really, really get upset about, are things that everybody else like, God, what's the big deal? White socks, black shoes.
Right.
Don't be talking to people over the fence during the game. Don't be looking up in the crowd trying to find your mama. Don't be talking. I would a lot rather you handle it. Hey, Dad, don't come down to the fence during the game because I'm not going to turn around and talk to you because Coach will absolutely blow up on me. Those are the types of things that, to me, harm an organization more than missing a block. Mm-hmm. If we've got the kid out there and he misses a block and he consistently keeps continuing to miss the block, then the option is find somebody else that can make the block. Same thing with missing a tackle or not lining up right. Mm-hmm. If it's errors like that they just can't do what they're supposed to be doing, then that's on us because we're the ones that put them out there. Find somebody else that can do it. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to really bark at a kid a whole bunch for an effort mistake if we've got them in the wrong spot or if we got the wrong guy in there, whatever it might be. But I expect everybody on our team to be up on that sideline pulling for their team, not over at the fence talking to their daddy or their mama or anything like that. And I don't want the parents coming down there. Those are things that take away from the team concept. It takes away from team concept when somebody's out there in we're supposed to be white socks, black shoes, and they got on blue shoes. I mean, that I tell the guys, and sometimes things get by and somebody slips one in. And my thing is that's the kind of stuff I can't tolerate. I can't tolerate when somebody sets themselves different from the team. I can't take it when people don't do what everybody else is doing on the team. And those are the types of lessons that I think football is supposed to teach people. I don't care if your daddy thinks that you ought to be cutting back inside. If the play's designed to go outside, that's what you're supposed to do. Right. Dad can coach you on everything in the world except football. I'm a football coach, and I'm not going to try to tell you how to clean your car. Right. Daddy can tell you that, but I'm all about the things that really get under my skin the most with players and getting after players is when it's stuff that takes away from what we're trying to do as a team. Right. That's the biggest thing. I said, those kids, if you got kids willing to run through the wall for you, like I feel like our guys will, yeah. I'm not going to be that upset about an execution mistake if they just get beat. Yeah. And I tell them that as a team. We go to Geraldine tomorrow night. If Geraldine beats us and they're just the better team, we're going to line up and shake their hand, and we're going to work on trying to get better for next year. I don't want it to be that we don't win this game tomorrow night because we lose focus on what we've always tried to do all year long as a team. We're trying to do something special or something different because it's second round of the playoffs, or it's going to be the game of the week or whatever. Don't make it into something that it's not. Let's just go do our thing. They're going to do their thing. And at the end, one of us is going to win. One of us ain't. We're going to shake hands, and somebody's going to advance, and somebody's going to cry and turn their stuff in on Monday. I mean, it is what it is, but I just want our guys to go out there, be relaxed, have fun, play wide open, and have a good time with it. Be where your feet are, enjoy where you're at right now. Because, again, this is the first two playoff games our kids have played in. I want them to enjoy it.
Coaches have great sayings, right? Some legendary coaches, like Raymond Farmer, one of his great, coaching linebackers, never forget it. It's a stupid saying, but never forget. Son, you're running through the hole like a blind dog through a meat house. His all-time favorite. If a hummingbird had your brains, he'd fly butt backwards. There's something about just and they stick with you, right? They do. No, absolutely. All these years. Yep. Hey, let's talk about a few of these games because I know you got to go. And appreciate you spending time. We'll start with 1A. It's just looking on paper seems like there's a lot of lopsided games, but a lot of interest on the Appalachian at Marion County.
Yeah. And Marion County handling Winterboro the way that they did. Winterboro's only loss had been to Wadley. So that was a big eyebrow raiser that Marion County handled them on the road. They went to Winterboro, tough place. I played one time at Winterboro. It's a tough place to play.
Tough place to get to.
And they went to Winterboro and they won handily. Yeah. Appalachian sitting there with an undefeated season. I did see Appalachian one time earlier in the year on film. They had a non-region game with Locust Fork. We had that film exchange with Locust Fork, and Appalachian had one of the best running backs I've seen all year long. I think he's out with an injury. But I think they got a big line of scrimmage. I think they kind of, handled the 1A competition in front of them. That's one of those games I feel like that the nod probably goes to Marion County just because of the playoff experience, the tradition at Marion County. Wouldn't surprise me if Appalachian won it. I'm obviously pulling for Appalachian being the local team here. Yeah. But
74 of us.
Yeah, they beat Shoals Christian. Now, Shoals Christian, and sure. I got nothing against Shoals Christian. I don't even know nobody at Shoals Christian. I know they didn't show up for the playoff meeting down there, and then I think there was some discrepancies between how some things went at that ball game. But I think Appalachian pretty much just went ahead and took care of business and did what they had to do.
They were instructed to fight on.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to 2A football. Southeastern and Red Bay.
Yeah. Red Bay, Tyler Jeffries is the coach at Red Bay. His dad was Dale Jeffries. I've been to Red Bay one time. 2007 Piedmont lost to Red Bay in the third round of the playoffs, and Dale Jeffries was the head coach there. Wound up playing against Coach Dale Jeffries a couple of times at Colbert County later on as he's an old Colbert County guy. But his son, Tyler, quarterback of the Colbert County team in 2015, is the head coach at Red Bay. And so that was his first playoff coaching victory last week.
Heck yeah.
And, they've got a little bit of a tradition over there. What's Red Bay, Alabama most known for? Anybody know?
No idea.
Tiffin Motorhomes. That's where Van Tiffin's from, and they got Tiffin Motorhomes. So Van Tiffin, the Alabama kicker, 85. Van Tiffin, the field goal to beat Auburn in 85. Right. He's from Red Bay. I think Lee Tiffin kicked for him later on. I think, but the Tiffin Motorhomes was the big industry in Red Bay. But Red Bay's got a really good team. I saw Southeastern on film, game 0 against Glencoe. And I think Coach will tell you, I know Coach Bailey Blanchard told me this, them and Southeastern were both trying to find their way. It was a defensive slobber knocker, 7-0. I think Glencoe won that game. But Southeastern has really come on here in the last few weeks. I think their only other loss this year was to Coach Christian. Wow. And, I think Southeastern's got a really good team. Somebody told me that they lost one of their playmakers for the year, and I don't know if that's right or not. But
I haven't heard that. That doesn't mean anything.
But Southeastern is – where's that game? Is Southeastern got to go to Red Bay? Or is
it's at Red Bay. It's like what?
I'm telling you, Red Bay is a long way off in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. It's almost on the Mississippi line. Be a tough road trip for them to make, but I believe Southeastern. I feel like Southeastern may be on a collision course to see Coosa Christian again. I really think that could happen.
Really?
So I'm going to take Southeastern in that game.
Ask him about the other first time winning a playoff game that person he likes.
Pleasant Valley.
Yeah.
Yep. Mentioned at the playoff meeting, first playoff win in school history, and I'm a big Jonathan Nix fan.
Hard not to be.
The fruits of the labor of what he's invested there in those kids at Pleasant Valley over the last 10, 12 years. I'm glad to see them having that success. Salster kid, it's a great player for them. I've known him ever since he was in the little youth league, watching them play against the old Piedmont teams, and I'm glad to see Pleasant Valley having the success they're having. I think they got a good chance this week. I think it kind of shocks some people if they're in the quarterfinals, but it wouldn't shock me. I think that team's something special.
They go to Tuscaloosa Academy. Here's what I say about being down there.
Yeah,
they're going to treat you nice.
Right.
Great people. Great. I mean, they treat us amazingly well.
Yeah, sure.
Some of the worst officiating I ever saw.
Well, and to hear Josh Wright tell Josh Wright's old coach, he's a coach's coach. Coach, we're down this year. We can't do this. We can't do that. But
first team Smith said that before.
Yeah, they played in the championship game last year, right?
They did.
And
real tough.
And they're in the second round this year, so that means that they're going to be joining the 3A party next year. Right. But I give Pleasant Valley a fighter's chance in this game. I really like what I see of them on the film that I've watched the highlights. He's got those guys playing together. They're believing. Like I said, they'll be the underdog. They'll be the underdog on the road to the defending state runner-up.
9-point favorite.
No, they're favorite.
I don't believe them algorithms and stuff. I mean, but at the end of the day,
algorithms with your
team. Last week, I put it this way: algorithm-wise, Welborn was a 3-point favorite last week at Glencoe.
Yeah.
I keep saying Glencoe, Gordo.
We appreciate Glencoe, by the way. We're so proud of them.
I am proud of them.
Make it to the first.
Proud of Bailey and all those guys over there. But
I want to say this before we get off this Academy, Coach Wright. He gets the Capel Award for the biggest interaction blow up with an official this season.
Really?
And we've seen Rush every game, right? So we've seen some stuff. Coach Wright took it to the next level. Talking about getting your money's worth.
It was beautiful too. Yeah.
The Coosa Solons applauded him. Get him, Coach. It was great. It was great. I could see his brother. We share the same last name.
You're talking about 3 yards on the field.
Bro,
try 35 yards on the field.
He was almost face to face with Rush after a picture one time. He got his money worth.
That's good stuff.
It was great. Awesome. It was absolutely great. All right, let's jump up. I don't want to talk to you 3A football.
Okay.
4A football, though. And I think this game is at Hanley. Jackson and Hanley.
Mm-hmm.
That's a ball game that I'll probably go back and watch.
Seen Hanley a couple times on film this year. They had film swap with Montford where they played Hanley. Hanley is a very, very talented group. They get after it. Line of scrimmage is something that's very impressive. Unfortunately, they're playing the University of Jackson. And I know that Jackson took a couple losses this year to Saraland in the shootout game with St. Michael's, but Jackson's on a different level than everybody else in 4A. Like I said, I think Hanley will hang with them for a while, and I definitely think Hanley's defense can keep them in the game. But when you got Alabama commit running back, South Carolina commit quarterback, North Carolina commit receiver, and everybody says, well, that prospect stuff, that's great. But they also are the defending champions that won the championship game 69-7 last year.
And it wasn't that.
They are a different animal. Jackson's a different animal. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I think it'd have to be one of those nights where Hanley played perfect and Jackson had to help them. Now, I think they are having the game's at Hanley, right?
It is, yeah.
So they got to make the long trip to Roanoke, which is definitely advantage Hanley. I think this game will be a lot closer than probably what most people think, because I think everybody just kind of expects Jackson to steamroll everybody until they play St. Michael's in a rematch in the semis. I definitely think Hanley will give them a fight. And I definitely think it could be a game that if Jackson turns it over and makes some mistakes and Hanley plays perfect, they've got a chance.
Sure.
But I still would have to pick Jackson to win this game.
Keep it local in 4A because it is local, and Alexandria and Plainview.
Wow. What a matchup. You know, I saw Plainview 2 years ago. They were in our region before they moved up to 4A. And Dale Pruitt and the coaching background resume he has speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm.
He's obviously got those guys playing hard-nosed Plainview football. They beat Madison Academy pretty handily a couple of weeks ago. Run the table on a perfect season. Big win in the first round of the playoffs. Alexandria. You know, you think Alexandria, you think of Lou Scales, Larry Ginn. Now you got Todd Ginn coming in, you know, second-generation coach there. They're throwing the ball a lot more to Alexandria this year. I give Todd credit because he's taken the pieces he has and he's tried to mold his philosophy around them, and they're throwing the ball really well. And he's got a couple of receivers that can go get it. You know, should be a great game. I think it being at Rains will make it a little bit tougher up on the mountain. I think Alexandria, you know, is down 7 when they get there. But at the same,
if you're playing in Fort Payne.
Well, I'm not gonna say that. I just
Hosiery capital of the world.
I definitely think that it's tough. It's tough to play on Sand Mountain, and I think that Alexandria will have to overcome that being the road team.
That's a
question earlier.
That's a question.
We didn't
what is your record on Sand Mountain?
Shoot, I don't know. I've been to Geraldine a few times, been to Plainview a time or two, lost the only time I played at 5 in 2020. I actually played at 5 in 2006 or 7, one of my first couple years at Piedmont. So had played at Sylvania some, played at Ider a couple times, Collinsville a bunch of times when I was at so I'd have to go back and think on that.
We'll work on that.
Next week you'll get that.
But you know, I definitely think Alexandria has the playmakers to make this a game. I think Plainview has that home field advantage and just the hard-nosed football that Coach Pruitt has instilled in them. I think this will be a great game. If you ask me to pick a winner, I'll take Plainview as the home team.
That's who you picked yesterday.
I think if this game was in Death Valley, I'd take Alexandria. But I definitely think that home team.
You said I'm pulling a Steve Smith.
I said I'm pulling a
Steve
Smith.
Team.
Give me the home team. That's what I said. Pulling Steve Smith. Give me the home team. All right, let's move up to 5A. We'll go through these pretty quick. I appreciate your time today.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But this game, I think, needs some talking about, Coach, because I think it's probably one of the most evenly matched matchups there is in 5A this week. St. Clair County and Scottsboro.
Yeah. Wow, St. Clair County, what a season they've had.
Yeah.
You know, Coach Robinson, they're 11-1, 10-1, 10-1, only lost to Moody, so that made them second in the region, right?
Darn you, Jay.
Big win over Leeds this year. A very impressive early season win over Montgomery Catholic. And I don't know how in the world St. Clair County and Montgomery Catholic played. I don't know why. I guess they both needed a game.
Yeah.
But that was a big attention grabber. You know, Montgomery Catholic went on and wound up winning their region. And is still alive in the 5A playoffs as well. So St. Clair County, outstanding year they've had. Hats off to them, the job they've done. You know, I guess you could consider them locals.
Yeah.
And then I got one of my coaching buddies over there at Scottsboro and Tyler Van. I'm a Tyler Van fan. Good as they come. He's good as gold. And you look at his year, and I kind of scratch my head a little bit, you know, because I think they were 6-4 and won their region.
I think so.
They beat Gunnersville.
They did.
I think they beat Fort Payne at the beginning of the year.
They did beat Fort Payne.
But they had a tough non-region game at Clay Central and got beat. They ended the year with 3A, little bitty 3A Mars Hill, right?
Yeah, never heard of
and took it on the chin. Took it on the chin in that one. And then somewhere mixing there in the middle of the year, they lost to a Brewer team that was a big head scratcher. How in the world did they lose a region game to Brewer?
I know him.
But, you know, so Scottsboro has been kind of a little bit of a mystery team to me this year. Conventional wisdom tells me it's hard to go against Tyler Van. St. Clair County is rolling this year, you know, with a great season and got a lot of momentum. And this game is where?
It's at Scottsboro.
At Scottsboro.
Jeff's favorite city.
So I love it. Go Scottsboro. Give me Scottsboro in overtime.
Hey, he's predicting overtime. You know what I'm going to say here. Two pretty evenly matched teams. Give me the home team.
Steve Smith.
That's right.
He just likes it for that unclaimed baggage story.
That's all.
That's what he likes to do.
That's all.
Get some good deals on unclaimed baggage. We've made some trips to Scottsboro before.
Yeah. How about this one? You go up to 6A, coach. You win a big game, home game versus a really, really good 3 seed in Jasper and Gadsden City. You get to go to Clay Chalk.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Hey, congratulations, Coach Ollie Smith. Very impressed with that first round win.
Good game.
Glad to see the Titans pull that one out.
Absolutely.
Y'all hear me all the time. I pull for the local folks. I'm all about the local guys and all. I don't know if there's a tougher assignment in the state this week than what Gadsden City's got. When you look at, I'm not so sure Clay Chalk might not be the best team in the state of Alabama regardless of class. I mean, they own 3 victories in a row over Thompson. Beat them again this year. So when you look at that Clay Chalk team and what they run out on the field, Gadsden City's got some great players, and Gadsden City, coming off that big win last week against Jasper, has got some positive momentum. It's hard to go against Clay Chalk, though, if you're asking me to pick a winner. Again, I don't mean that's what I'm pulling for. I'm pulling for Coach Smith and Gadsden City.
As are we.
But if I had to put my paycheck on picking a winner, I don't know anybody that would go against Clay Chalk.
But Gadsden City 100% has a very talented team.
No doubt.
They got some dudes.
No doubt.
I've fallen in love over the last 8 weeks with the Kashawn Curry, the wide receiver number 11.
Is that number 11?
Yeah, dude's a baller.
Yeah, he makes a lot of plays for them, and they got the defensive back that he's
that's the other one. They got Sims and one from Alabama.
Yeah, they got the Gibson kid. I think is his name.
That's right.
That he's a shutdown guy. I think the interesting matchup is Gibson. I imagine that Gibson's probably going to shadow Barber. The guy that's supposedly one of the front runners for Mr. Football, that's the receiver at Clay Chalkville. So I think the matchup within the matchup is going to be, is his Mario Barber? Is that his name?
It is, yep.
I'm interested to see how Barber and Gibson do head to head. Of course, I know coaches will tell you it's a team game.
Sure.
It's 11-on-11, but you're talking about 2 major.
He just said that.
Division One. You're talking about 2 major Division One prospects out there. On an island, 1-on-1. I remember the Thompson game when I saw the highlights on TV of the Thompson game. It got down at the end. The Barber kid just said, "Get me the ball," and he just made plays. And Thompson's no slouch. He's making plays against other Division One players. So I think that game within the game will be fun to watch. But Gadsden City's in that same position that Hanley's in.
Sure.
I think Gadsden City has the talent to pull off this upset. I think they could do it. It just have to be one of those nights where everything clicks for them, and Clay Chalk has a couple hiccups along the way.
Gadsden City's due for one, I think. I just think they're due for one.
Well, it wouldn't be. This will be, and I think it was just last year that, if I'm not mistaken, last year Clay Chalk had a down game in the first round of the playoffs and lost, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
I think last year was the year that they, unexpectedly lost in the first round.
And unluckily for Gadsden City, I don't think they're going to let that happen again.
They play like
they're
that.
bringing that back. Hey, this is what can happen. You don't want to.
Coach Stuart Floyd is an outstanding coach. He proved his worth as a long-time assistant. He was on championship teams as an assistant. He's been a championship head coach. He knows what he's doing, and I can promise you, whatever went wrong last year in that playoff game, they didn't copy that game plan. They didn't copy that week's preparation.
That's right.
And I'm sure every single day he probably mentions to his team, we can't have that slip up. You can't have that. So
exactly.
I'm sure they'll be on guard for that. But again, a talented Gadsden City team that'll be going just down the road to Chalkville, I give them a chance in this game.
Come on.
Last game. Got to throw 1 7-8 game. And I was torn which one. I don't want to talk about Thompson and Mary Montgomery. I think that's the one that's being talked about the most.
Yeah.
Auburn and Daphne.
Yeah.
That's a game.
To me,
anyway.
And Auburn, a lot of people kind of wrote them off early in the year. They had that bad loss early in the season to Vestavia Hills. Right. And then they played last week in the first round of the playoffs, and Vestavia Hills jumps out 21-0. And everybody's like, well, maybe that wasn't a fluke. Maybe it wasn't a fluke. Maybe Vestavia is just better than Auburn. Yeah. And then Auburn turned the Jets on and come back. And what did the final wind up? 50-42 or something, 51-42 or something like that. Yeah. Auburn just came back and just steamrolled them the rest of the way, and that was Coach Etheridge's 200th career win. Great career he's had. Coach Etheridge is one of my friends, and then you got Kenny King down there, the Alabama legend, that's the head coach back at his high school at Daphne, and Coach King has really done a great job. Daphne has a lot of tradition there. Coach Savarese used to coach at Daphne. Pat White, the quarterback that played at West Virginia.
52-41.
Was it 52-41? Yeah. So a lot of tradition at Daphne. And Coach King back coaching at his alma mater, I'm sure that's extra motivation. And then this game between them and Auburn, I mean, this is a second round game that could be a semifinal game on some other years, depending on how the bracket falls. But I think that'll be an interesting. That game is at Daphne or at Auburn?
It's
Somebody's got to make a long trip. Who's at home
Yeah,
for?
it's
Daphne, right?
yeah, Daphne's
Yeah.
at home.
Again, Keith got to do a good job of getting those guys on the bus and riding 2.5, 3 hours all the way to the bay. Gonna be
Daphne's only lost twice. They lost to Mary Montgomery and they lost to Fairhope.
Fairhope's kind of a rivalry game. And
It
Fairhope
is.
and Daphne's right there. That's a big rival.
Yeah.
Is Fairhope's still alive too, right?
I'm pretty sure.
Them and Mary Montgomery are still alive, right? I think didn't that region sweep the
Yeah.
Huntsville region?
Well, they got Central Phoenix this week.
That your matchups, there was a lot of controversy last week with the 7As. People
Right.
talking about why is the Hoover region and the Central Phoenix City region having a match at the first round? Well,
It rotates.
it rotates. It hadn't up until now.
Right.
But if y'all remember, in 7As, there's just two regions.
Right.
You got two in the north, two in the south. Well, in the past, it's always been the Birmingham region, the Hoover region, sweeping the Huntsville region, and then the Auburn, Phoenix City region has usually swept the Mobile region. And so there was a lot of outcry amongst 7A coaches about why can't we rotate first round crossovers? And so the state consented to do it. So what did you have? You had 4 first round matchups between the Hoover region and the Central Phoenix City region that didn't travel very far.
Mhm.
And then you had 4 matchups that went all the way from Florence to Baker.
Wow.
And it was Atlanta
Big
State.
expense, yeah.
$25,000 plus. I'm hearing that some of those teams had spent with their buses, their charter buses, their bands, and their food. They had to go spend the night before, or chose to go spend the night before. And it worked both ways because you had 2 Mobile teams coming all the way to Florence as well.
Right.
And so the big gripe last week was why are we having to play each other in the first round coming from the Hoover, Phoenix City 2 regions.
Yeah.
These are, and look, you had Phoenix City Hoover last week in the first round. You had Auburn Vestavia. You had first round games in 7A last year that could have been championship games in other years, But you can't have it both ways.
Yep.
The 7A coaches complained about not having a rotating schedule. And now then, the way that they've at least rotated it, if Auburn and Phoenix City happened to be the best 2 teams, in the past they would have had to play in the semifinals to go to the Auburn and Phoenix City, the way the bracket is now, wouldn't meet until the championship game. Right. So if the best 2 teams are from one of those regions, you could see an Auburn Phoenix City matchup. You could have saw a Thompson versus Hoover matchup had Hoover won.
Right.
So you could have saw that in a championship game. So it's kind of pick your poison. It can't be both ways.
Will that get relooked at for next year?
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of backlash for the people that had to spend $25,000 to travel, and their fans pretty much either you went down the day before and spent the night as a fan, or you probably spent the night after the game and then drove home on Saturday. It, to me, it don't make very good sense. If there is one classification that can afford it, probably the 7A budgets. You couldn't do this with 1A, but
That's right.
this is one of the things that's a pet peeve of mine. I'm not going on the HSA rant because I'm 96.3% in with what the HSA does, right? But and I know it's a dollar and money making thing, and I know they're going to say, Coach Smith, you can't speak on that because you're hurting. We're doing things for the kids. I get all that. Playing any state championship game in football in Mobile or Florence is ridiculous in my mind because you're going to have people that's going to have to travel. At least if they were in the Montgomery, Birmingham areas, that's kind of centralized. Yeah. And so people make 3.5 hour trip. You can even make that trip day of the game. But if you got Westbrook Christian, let's just say in the future playing in a state championship game at 11 o'clock in the morning in Mobile, all right, there ain't no getting up driving the morning of the game.
That's right.
I mean, the team's going to spend the night anyway, but then all your fans are going to have to go spend the night, and the people that play the 7 o'clock game down there in the primetime game that are from